welcome back to my channel. My name is Donna and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. If this is something that you're interested in, please keep watching. So last time I released a part 1 video with a testimony from Dorothy Nyabaza, who is a breast cancer survivor. I'm sure this might be interesting to you, and if you want to stay tuned and have a look, please do so. Wow, so we heard all that. So I'm just dumbfounded. I I have been to a cancer center, but it was like for just a day, and there were so many patients, and they were miserable. So it's lovely how you talk about the positive attitude that you took on with cancer, because first of all, you mentioned how aggressive your cancer was, spread very quickly, and that can be so discouraging. It can be so painful to someone, and I'm inspired by how you threw a party, how you decided to go to the wedding anyway, because I was like, what in the world? Like, I love weddings, but the moment some little flu comes along, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going. But you actually threw a party.
Yes, ma'am. A big party. Let's make this clear.
And you stuck to the big earrings.
Yes, ma'am. And by the way, chemo gave me black nails, completely black.
Right.
And so I used to wear, navy blue and black and whatnot. Then I realized, man, God gave us a rainbow.
Mm.
So I started painting my nails yellow, green, blue. I just got so liberated because I realized how much I obsessed about things that are so small and how life is just worth celebrating. And that, hey, if I've got a day, especially because I spent those times in isolation where I was alone and I couldn't be around people and I couldn't eat and I couldn't. So whenever they got, I broke out of jail. I was a fool about it. I'm like, I'm out, guys. I'm taking my son. There was this place that served these big old scoops of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I couldn't be around flowers or anything fresh,
Right.
because I had no immune system. So we would go out to this ice cream place. We would go to a park, sit outside in the park with big old scoops of ice cream, with my 3-year-old, ice cream dripping all over his face, getting dirty. And I would just sit there with, how you're like, oh, I can't eat that much ice cream, I'll get fat.
You didn't.
Oh, I wanted to get fat because when I was on chemo, I couldn't eat. So I was supposed to eat for calories. So I'm like, I can eat anything. Someone called me one time and was say to me, "Oh, what would you like to eat?" And they happened to call me when I was on my healthy week. I felt sorry for them. I'm like, you just made a mistake. Because I can eat. I want this and I want that and I want this. Because I could eat, because I had this moment when I couldn't. So when I could, it was just such a blessing. And I could, I cherished it, right? And I realized how much we obsess over nothing and why we should be liberated. We confine ourselves to, we're concerned about what people think about us. But if I get a chance to live, hey, I don't care if my nails are yellow and you don't like it, right? And what's interesting was because I was going through cancer, people gave me so much grace. People were happy that my nails were yellow. It was like, She's allowed to do it because she has cancer. But why aren't you allowed to do it? It doesn't make sense to me.
Mm.
God has blessed us with life, and He gives us permission to be whoever we want to be as long as we are living for Him. He doesn't confine us. We don't live under religious persecution, or we're not Pharisees. There is freedom under Christ.
Mm.
So the confinements that we put on ourselves are not His fault, it's on us.
That's true.
And He's given us liberty, but we choose not to take it. So my family, so we live in Texas, my husband and my son. But my brother, my mom, and my cousins live in Canada, and then the rest of the family live in Zimbabwe.
Right.
So my Canadian family actually took turns during my rounds of chemo to come and help support my husband so he could go to work.
So how long did the chemo, the treatment, how long did it last?
So it was every 3 weeks. So you get an IV bag run through your veins um, once every 3 weeks.
For how long?
Um,
Like how long
so
did
it was
cancer?
supposed to
Yeah.
be 6 rounds. So I was supposed to get 6 bags. So it was supposed to be one bag, wait 3 weeks, then get bag number two, and then until I have six.
About 24 weeks,
Mhm.
basically.
So I only made it through 5.
About half a year with all these treatments going on.
So, really going through the entire treatment, it was supposed to be those 3 weeks times 6 of chemo.
Mm.
Then I was supposed to wait a little bit to get a little stronger. Then I was supposed to have surgery.
Mm.
After surgery, I was supposed to get a maybe 2 months or so of recovery. Then I was supposed to get radiation, and the radiation was supposed to be 38 cycles. And for radiation, it's every single day of the week you go, and you get if you think of a big machine, you go, you lie down, and then they zap you.
Right.
So, but with the radiation, the biggest thing is that it's it takes the energy out of you. And then having to wake up every day, get dressed, take a shower, and then who has the ability to take you for treatment every single day for 38 days?
Mm.
So I ended up getting social services to arrange a ride for me, a bus from the Salvation Army to come and pick me up. The problem is that this bus, it was a huge bus, it would come and pick up a lot of different people all over the city.
Do you mind me asking which church you go to?
I'm non-denominational.
Right.
Yeah, at the time, I think we were going to a church called New Hope there in Houston. Right now, we go to a different church.
Even
Oh, wait,
yeah.
I wasn't in Houston then.
Right.
I was in Dallas. Oh man, I was at a good church then. They were so supportive.
Okay.
Yeah, why would I? I've been living in Houston for too long. I went to a church called High Point Church,
Right.
and I was in the church choir.
Oh, you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Me too.
Absolutely.
So I'm asking this question because as Christians, even within the Christian sector, I would say
Hmm.
there's so many divisions and people want to divide and separate themselves. So if they're Catholic and they're whatever, they don't want to accept help or they don't want to help another Christian who's a Jehovah's Witness or who's whatever. But we must understand that we are all children of God, and even if a person is a believer or an unbeliever, we are still one body of Christ. So I wanted to just point that out. You were going to a different church, but the Salvation Army was the one that was actually helping you with whatever you're going through. And it shows that we're all branches of the same tree. We are all, the church of God and the family of God, and we have to extend help to one another, regardless of whatever denomination, whether they go to church or not, whether they're Muslim. So I wanted to state that because it's so profound, it's so interesting how she was assisted by a different church.
And I also want to mention there the fact that when we get into times of trouble, we go before God and pray.
Mm.
But God answers our prayers through people. God uses people to bring answers to our prayers.
Mm.
But then we tend to, in our pride or humility, or however we do it, but we tend to reject the help when people come to us.
Mm.
Someone comes and says, "Oh, let me get you lunch," and you're like, "Oh, it's okay, I'm all right?" And yet, maybe that person is who God sent to help you with the answer to your prayer. Maybe during that lunch date, that person had something for you that was going to help you answer whatever it is that you've been asking God for.
Mm.
And that is one big lesson that God really drummed into me, that listen, you are going to have needs. And me not having family then, man, I got so much blessings from people. And then the last piece is the divine, or the economy of heaven. The economy of heaven is that, just like you said, you get help from someone who may not even be from your denomination. But then you don't have to feel obligated that when things get right for you, you have to go back to that person to pay them back. You just have to understand that the economy of heaven is that when God brings someone before you who requires help or needs help, you have that responsibility to reach out and help that person.
Pay it forward.
You pay it forward. And that's one thing that I understood, that now when God brings someone who I have the capacity to help, because I got so much love and so much help. And now I understand that I have the capacity to really bring change into the life of somebody else.
That is so good. Yeah, that is so good.
The bad. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are not the way that I planned them to be. I can say that the hardest thing for me is just that, like I spoke about, the nerve damage that happened. The doctors had said that I would recover, and they had predicted that I would recover fully.
Right.
But that hasn't happened.
Mm.
So I still, well, this is the thing, because I didn't complete that last round of chemo, I had to stay on chemo for 10 years.
All right, right. Yeah.
So I had to stay on pill chemo for 10 years. I'm 46, and I've only been off chemo for 2 years. And I was diagnosed at 32. Chemo does some serious damage to your body. And so I have picked up so many diagnoses.
Oh, I get that. So basically, chemo weakened your immunity. So you picked up on a lot of
It's
different.
damaged not just my immunity, but it damaged a lot of systems.
Right.
So now we would say this is a really bad thing, but God has said that my ministry is a ministry of health and healing.
Mm.
But it's funny that because I've been on chemo for so long and I have suffered physically for so long, there's basically very little, if anything, that has never been broken in me.
Mm.
I can sit with a 90-year-old and exchange stories about aching. Oh man, my hip. I'm like, man, my hip too. Man. Or let's talk about, eyes. In my eyes. I can talk about all kinds of aches and pains. Now, while that is really hard, guys, at the same time, if my ministry is about health and healing, and I'm a physical therapist, and I've been broken at every piece and nook and cranny, I have the capacity to be empathetic. And I have been hurt and broken, and I can talk about what I did when that broke. And I have the capacity to love on someone in their brokenness. And I'm not standing over someone telling them to go and be well, but um, I can truly talk about a God who heals. And I can talk about how to be, even if your healing takes time,
Mm.
even if it doesn't really fully come. How do I continue to walk with my God? So, is it bad? It's pretty hard. It hurts.
Yeah.
But is it within my purpose? Yeah,
You're calling
yeah.
the
And
ministry of healing.
right.
Yeah.
So sometimes you you have to walk through some stuff in order to um, get positioned into your purpose.
Mm.
And if you really want to walk in your purpose, um, know that when God answers your prayer, um, that's sometimes it's going to be a little uncomfortable.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
At the beginning of the cancer journey, my husband, um, he tried very much to um, shield me from his pain. Um, I know the day that I was diagnosed, when I walked out of the diagnosis center with the results that I had breast cancer, one of his really, really close friends had just died from
All
breast cancer.
right. Mm.
And he had left, um, he had just seen her a few days before. And she was in the ICU, and she was non-responsive at the time.
Right.
And so he was outside in the parking lot working, waiting for me to come out from the clinic where I got the diagnosis. And then I came out and told him I had breast cancer, and he had just received a phone call telling him that his friend had passed away. So it was a really um, hard time for him. But I think the biggest thing that we have gotten out of all of it is that understanding that we have no promise uh, as far as time goes,
Mm.
and that we have to maximize every moment. And so we don't really, we try not to fuss about small things. We do more things from my wheelchair than what most couples do who are able bodied.
Mm.
My son thought that the wheelchair was ours. So, he was 3. He sat on my lap and we did everything from the wheelchair. We go, we do things, we enjoy life. Like I told you, I'm a little radical. And my husband really did feed from that. And for him, I think just knowing that I'm okay with where I am allowed him to be okay with our situation. And he was, very, very, very supportive. And I can't imagine that it was easy for him because, he had to wear many hats, holding down the fort at home and working and all of that. But I think it did bring us much closer and made us appreciate every opportunity that we had.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the part where you said that you no longer focus on the small things, because sometimes in life we take things for granted, fight about every single little bit, but the moment something big like this comes, you realize, you know what? It doesn't matter if I have scrambled eggs or fried or because you realize it's more about the bigger things. It's about cherishing each moment together. It's about being joyous in every
Hmm.
moment. So I like that. But I also heard you mention a wheelchair. So I'm um, taking note that there were some changes that came with the cancer. So where are we now? How are things going?
So the neuropathy that happened with chemo, and honestly, I think the neuropathy was extended by the cancer, by the chemo that I've taken over the past 10 years,
Mm.
because I've had a hysterectomy, and because of the hysterectomy, I've had major bone issues. So I do have osteoporosis.
Right.
I have arthritis. I have so accumulation of all of that stuff still has me in the wheelchair. Now I at home I walk fine. Short distances I do walk with a cane because my balance isn't great. But I do have pain. And pain is one of the biggest limiting factors because the nerve damage never really fully recovered.
Mm. Okay.
So my son is 17 now. He's great. I remember when he was 10, his dad was traveling quite a bit for work. And so I was home with him, and I had to be conservative with what we did because I would have to carry the wheelchair in and out of the car. And I have neuropathy in my hands as well. And so carrying the wheelchair, it was hard, just as hard as walking. And so I would limit our activities to, I would have to plan out the day, like what is absolutely necessary.
Mm.
Um, and so he was 10 and he wanted, summertime, he wanted to go to the park, and then he wanted to go to this place, and he wanted to
And he's a
do.
boy, he's very active.
And then I told him, son, listen, we're just gonna have to do like choose one because you know the wheelchair issue. He says, Mom, I really think you're letting this wheelchair thing cripple us. You're really letting it restrict us from doing what we want to do. I'm just going to carry this wheelchair by myself. I'm just going to handle it by myself. So let's go. And I'm like, son, you're like 10 years old. That's going to be like child abuse. He said, no, no, I can manage. Let's go. And from then on, he has been responsible for getting the wheelchair in and out of the car. Now he's driving me.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So
A lot of positive changes.
well, yeah, and he matured
very quickly.
very quickly.
Because he could no longer do the things that you wanted to for him, but it sort of gave him some sort of independence. And so, from what we see, we can see that there were some changes that occurred, unplanned for changes, but some of them were good changes. Of course, bad changes with the pain and the experience, but there were good changes. And what I got from this session and what Dee was pointing out was change just comes whether you're prepared for it, whether you're not prepared for it, but it's how we adapt to the change. It's about trusting God through the process. It's about holding on to the memories, cherishing every moment. And this was a radical change. It was a big kind of change. It's life changing. It's not you bumping your car and getting a new one. It's your life changing. You're no longer going to maybe talk the same, walk the same. Your vision is not going to be the same. So um, it's about your relationship with God at the end of the day, because that's what life is about. It's about you and your maker. What are you doing while you're still on this earth before you go to heaven or wherever you decide to go to? So it's very inspirational. I'm personally inspired, but I know you've got some words of wisdom or some motivation that you want to give us. So I'll give you that platform.
Okay. I think I wanted to share Psalms 37:25, which says, I was young and now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his
Yes.
children begging for bread. This is something that I've had to hold on to because I am a physical therapist. Um, when you educate yourself, when you do all of this, you think that you are going to provide for yourself. But when change happens and things happen that are outside of your control, then you have to ask yourself, do I really understand who my provider is? Who provides my bread? So now I have to remember my son will not beg for bread. What my husband brings is going to be enough for our family. Because God knew, He foresaw, He understands what our needs are. So, can you imagine that something could get dragged on so long? And every time you go to the doctor, you get bad news. How do you adapt to chronic bad news? My doctors thought I was crazy, and I kid you not. I was sent to psych several times because they thought I wasn't understanding what they were telling me. But I understood one thing, which was that I had no control. And understanding that one thing was all that I needed to know. If I have no control, then why should I worry about it?
Wow.
Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God. Psalms 42, verse 11. Continually encouraging yourself in the Lord. When things look grim, when you are faced with hardship that's beyond your capacity to change, beyond your capacity to alter, you, especially when you are in a room, isolated, no one can come in, all you have is what's already in you. You have to encourage yourself in the Lord. And these are some of the things, some of the biggest lessons that I learned, that listen, I have no authority over the things of this earth, but I do know who does.
Mm.
And that's all that I need.
Wow.
And just learning to trust Him. And knowing that the justice that my tent will realize is a justice that I can be proud of, because I know who holds my future. And I trust Him.
Wow. Wow, it's been a great session for me. I mentioned the pre-interview, so I talked to Dee just before we had this session, and I was like, wow, let's stop right there. We'll get this on camera because it was just so good. I felt like what she was sharing had to be shared to with other people. It's so inspirational. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of resilience to go through what she went through. But if there's one thing that she keeps reminding us, she didn't go through this alone. She had God with her. He's the one that gave her the life that she has, and he knew that she could take it. He knew that she could take it. I know in those times she felt like she couldn't because it was hard, but she could take it. And this is just your reminder, whatever you're going through, whatever pain, whatever suffering, whatever illness, or whether you're going through a financial crisis, whether you are going through, I don't know, when avalanches hit wherever you've been, just know that God is with you and He will carry you through. It may seem difficult right now, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to win that race. And I'm just so grateful that you've come all the way from Texas to grace us. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for taking your time to share, the word of God with us. I'm very grateful. I wish you all the best with your journey, your life. I wish you all the best with your channel. And I'd like to add this. So Dee was referred to me by a friend of mine called Tiffany. Tiffany is more like the sister that I always wish I had. I was new to this place, wherever I am. I was new to this place, and we met through. It was a church lunch. I'll call it that. But Tiffany and I didn't go to the same church. She just happened to be there, and she took my number, took me out for lunch, dinner, should be dinner. Spoiled me rotten. She's always advising me, always there for me, and she just happened to refer Dee to me. So Tiffany is that one friend you need in your corner. Don't abuse Tiffany's around you. But she is a lovely person, so I'm grateful for her. I had to add that because I'm grateful for Tiffany in my life. I just don't get enough time to see her, but I really wish I would. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. And I pray that God will edify everything that you're doing here too.
Thank you.
And that, everyone who's out there who is indeed um, facing trials and tribulations, just know that you are not alone. That no matter how deep, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, do not be afraid. The Lord, He will never forsake you. Just hold on and let Him be God. Amen.
Thank you so much for watching. We've reached the end of our video. If you like what you've seen today, please do share, subscribe. We'll be airing the same video on this channel, a different view, more interview style. So please take a look at that. Do support her. I will share some links in the description below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.